There we go.
There
Hello.
we
How are we
go.
doing, Flick? How are you doing today?
I'm really good, thanks. How are you guys?
Like this is just so amazing to see you out here now. You're on the screen with us. We saw you out on the island. Now, Flick, you're still glowing. What? So was it the Samoan weather? What's going on here?
Well, I actually went from one island to the next. So once I finished Australian Survivor, I got home. I only had a couple of months at home and I went straight to Hawaii. So I've literally come back from 3 months in Hawaii. So that's why we've still got the glow going.
Wow, I am like jealous over here. Don't let Abraham fool you, by the way. He just finished the episode, so he had no idea you were coming on today. So I have no idea what
Ah,
questions he's asking or
woo!
anything. But first off, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on and chat with us. You've been a huge supporter of us on social media and stuff, and we really do appreciate that as well. I can't wait to talk about your game, but I'm so devastated that you're out because every time we broke down the show, I kept saying, I love Flick. I want her to go really far. I love the story that you shared with us, and I was really looking forward to you going far. Unfortunately, King George stood in the way there. So do you feel like we really saw you were doing so great in the game when the Heroes tribe was just dominating, and then we saw that tribe swap kind of happen, and it just threw your game completely for a wrench. Do we feel like that's where your game started going downhill when you
Yep.
didn't have the numbers at the tribe swap?
Yeah. Tribe Swap was the turning point in my game. It literally, the cards couldn't have been dealt any worse for me. I literally lost all my closest allies over to the villains, and I was basically up shit creek without a paddle. I was just doing whatever I could to try and stay in this game, like making whatever alliances I could, pledging my allegiance. Like I had to make it through to merge, and it was just it's demoralizing being on the bottom. It's raining, it's Samoa, it's actually cold at night, people are running off and having chats without you, and you're like sitting in the bloody shelter like twiddling your thumbs like, ah, crap, like what can we do here? So I literally had to do whatever I could to stay in the game, and like at the end of the day that ended up costing me the game. But once what happened is like, so yeah, I pledged my allegiance to Shawnee, George and Liz, but once merge happened, like I had a really hard decision to make. I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like, do I go back with my original heroes who I've been on a beach with for 18 days, forming really strong relationships with? We didn't go to tribal council that much. So our tribe wasn't fractured completely, like we were a really solid unit. Like, do I go back with them? Or do I stay with Shawnee, George, and Liz, who I've been on tribe swap with? Well, Liz, I've only known for a couple of days, but George and Shawnee, who I've been on tribe swap with for 10 days. And like, doesn't matter which way I looked at it, I was about to betray a whole bunch of people, and it would have put me in hot water no matter what. So Sean was my number one out there. If I turned my back on him, he would have been off me. So I just knew, like, tribes. The moment I picked out that heroes buff again, I knew that I was like, okay, this is going to be really hard from here on out, and it would
That
have
was
anyone in my position.
that was such a good answer because like you're like, okay, I know what these podcasters are going to ask me. They're first going to ask me this, and then they're going to ask me about the merge. And you answered like all of that so well. Abraham, you got a question
Look,
for her?
Liz, I gotta compare you to Fiji where I was at and played
Did you say
Survivor.
Liz? Did you just call her Liz?
I'm sorry, Flick. I was thinking about Liz. It's some notes up
I
behind it.
cut
Don't
you
even
off
worry about that.
there.
Flick.
Yeah.
Now, our season was only 26 days. Your
Yeah.
season is 40 plus days. Do you think
Yes.
that the relationships that you formed in that time period could have been done in less time? How would that have changed the way you approach the game?
I think it probably puts more emphasis on the strategic side of the game, I think, and you just have to be flexible and you have to be willing to, mend those bridges if like those bridges were broken. I feel like it's pretty interesting when you think about that, like, the American Survivor only being 26 days and Australian
Yeah.
Survivor over 40 days. Like, and the first time I played the full 47 days. So I played all the way to the end, and it's a long slog and it's hard and it's tiring. And at the end, you're just like, oh my God, like how much longer can I stand of this? And, but yeah, look, I think, yeah, you just got to, and the thing is I am willing to get over things pretty quickly. And I think, you still have to be like that, especially coming down to this pointy end of the game in Survivor. Like
Mm.
you have to be willing to, 1 minute you're working with this person, next minute you're working with someone else, because maybe that's the best path for you to the end. And everyone has a different idea of like what that path looks like for them. but yeah, you have to be willing to mend those relationships really quickly and get over things quickly.
Now, I need you to sum this up in one word. King George was my roommate in a charity event in December. Nicest guy I ever met. I was like, this guy's really nice. Then I've seen him play Survivor, and I'm like, who is he? He's a whole different place. Sum him up in one word.
Ooh, putting her on the spot here.
Because you played with him before in a previous season. So
before I'm gonna talk while I think about the one word. So I love George. I really do. I honestly think of him as like my brother. I'm getting married in 2 weeks and he's invited. He's coming to the wedding.
Congratulations.
Like, yeah. Okay.
You got the ring on right now. Are you wearing that ring?
No, I'm actually not, because I'm always it's not there. But I'm always like surfing or working out, and like boyfriend did good, fiance did good. It's a big ring anyway, and I just don't want to knock it. And like
that's very fair.
Anyway, so I just don't want to lose it. Anyway, it will be on the wedding day, of course. But so yeah, back to George. Like I love him like a brother. I get along with him so well, and obviously like we are funny together. Like we share so much banter on the beach. It's great. We're having like amazing conversations, but it's just obviously that doesn't make it to air. But what makes it to air is, Flicks, we've got to get her out. She's the threat. She's this. Death versus glory. We must take her out. Like, but like George is out there to do one thing. He just wants to be, he wants his crazy big edit, and he's getting it because he's amazing at the game. I don't know what the right word to use is right now. I feel like any word I use for him in the game probably is going to be a little bit I want to say negative light. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to get myself in a hot water. He'll listen to this and he'll message me 20 minutes later or whenever it goes to air, and he'll be like, how dare you?
Oh, he definitely will. Well, I mean, like, if it comes to you, let us know. But I do have to say, as someone who loves, I mean, we see all the awesome rewards that you guys get. And I am so jealous that you guys still do the Survivor auction as well. That's something we don't get in the US season. And I am someone who loves my Mexican food. I love it. And you spent the money on the, 3 giant tacos, I think, and a margarita. Was that the best tasting Mexican food you've ever had in your life? Because it looked incredible.
Oh my God, that was just the best. So as soon as that one came out, I was like, I don't care if I'm spending the rest of the tribe's money on this. I'm getting this. Like, I want this so badly. I'm ready to spend like the rest of the money. Anyway, and when those tacos weren't tacos, they were like burritos. And like, I knew because it was towards the end, we only had until the end of the auction to finish them. So I'm like, like trying to basically deep throat this bloody taco, trying to finish it, because I was like, we only have until the end of the auction, and then like trying to drink this like frozen margarita, like giving me the biggest brain freeze. But honestly, that was just like definitely a Survivor highlight for me. Like when I played Brains v. Vorm, we didn't get the auction, and so to have the auction and then to do the merge feast, I was like, this is good. Like, we're ticking those things off the Survivor bucket list. And yeah, I was stoked.
You also got to do the last breath challenge too. I mean, that is on everyone's bucket. It has to be as well.
Yes. So I was actually a little bit disappointed at myself. Like, I'm a big wave surfer. I have an amazing breath hold, right? But I don't want to sound petty here, but what you actually didn't see in that challenge is you have to draw rocks to see where you're going to end up on this like last breath thing, right?
The tide and
so
everything.
That wasn't actually perpendicular to the beach. It was a bit skewed. So if you were up the end of me, George, or Haley, that end actually had water over it first out of the people down the end. So I was like so spewing that I was up that end, because like, of course, like the tide was coming in fast, and that we had our faces underwater. Like, if you see, not to take anything away from Nina and Matt, because they still did an incredible job, but they still got their mouth out of the water at the end of that challenge, whereas Haley, George, and our faces were completely covered. And if it was
what are we doing, the beach, production?
Hey, look,
I don't know, mate. That's why I guess you got to draw rocks, I guess. It's not good,
that's a wild challenge. So you played before, you returnee. For a while there, a lot of the newbies were getting voted off. What's your experience from doing it the first time now that you've done it the second time?
The game, so basically half of the people on this season were returnees. And the thing I noticed straight away was the gameplay was just boom from the very get-go. Whereas the first time I played, everyone was like tiptoeing around, like it was all nice, and like everyone was like, ooh, a bit scared to have those strategy chats. Whereas this time it was like, boom, straight to the point. Who are we like? Are we working together? Are we not working together? And I don't know if that, really got shown too much on the edit because, original heroes, we didn't go to tribal council that much in the beginning. So like all the emphasis was on the villains. So you probably didn't see like the inner workings of the tribe. But like that was the biggest takeaway from me is the game's a lot quicker moving when you have returning players there. And everyone's a lot smarter. Everyone knows how the game works. So like, this is, it's not our first rodeo.
Describe to us your relationship. You mentioned it earlier that Sean, it sounded like you said Sean was your number one heading into the merge. And we saw that interaction when you guys did come together, and we saw the edit where you basically leapt into his arms and you were screaming and you're like, yes, yes, yes. So describe to us that relationship with Sean that you had. Was that something that really got put together at the beginning of the game during that time that the edit wasn't towards the Heroes tribe?
Yeah, completely. Like Sean and I, pretty much from, I don't know, maybe the first 1 or 2 weeks in the game, we just made that decision and we were like, you know what? Let's be each other's number ones. There's no one else we've got on that list. Let's come back every night. Let's just sneak off. We'll have these like little regroups at night and we'll make sure that we're across everything. And let's just keep that under wraps. Let's keep that relationship under wraps. So not many people knew that we were each other's number, like hardly anyone did. And then obviously right on my elimination episode, we do get to see like how excited I am to see him. And that's why I was like, well, when Sean was the person, that's why Sean was the person to hand me the cookie idol, because and that's why I was like, it must be true. Like Simon really must be trying to save me, because like if Sean believes him, like Sean's my number one, it has to be true anyway. And so, it was like really fun to be reunited with him, even if it only was short and sweet.
It was after the merge feast.
yeah.
Now, if you had one vote, you could go back and vote again. Who would you have liked to vote it off?
Oh, George.
Easy. Abraham, you gotta hit it with a better question than that.
No, that's so easy. Like literally, someone pulled up my stat the other day of how many times I voted for George, and they're like, and then George, we spoke on the phone the other day, and he was like, "Look, I saw this thing on Twitter that you voted for me this many times," and I was like, "Yeah, duh." Like you are literally one of the best players ever, like to have ever played Survivor. Like you're such a strategical mastermind. Like, of course I'm going to vote for you. You're one of the biggest threats. Like, I don't want you around. You're going to win this thing. Like, let's get rid of you. And it's so funny. Like, I've tried so many times and it's just like not sticking. I'm like, people, if we don't get him now, like he's just going to keep on going. And look what's happening now. He's just going to keep on going. I'm like, listen to me. I've played him for 47 days.
Here, Fleck, who's really the nicest person on the Heroes tribe?
The nicest person.
Who's the nicest person out there?
In
the jungles of Samoa. Dirty all day. Who's the nicest person? Sleeping in the rain.
Look, on the Heroes tribe, there was a couple of dodgy people. Who I don't but to be honest, I think everyone is lovely, like in their own way. Like, and and they are. Everyone's really good people. Like I can't pick, even like on the villains tribe. Like everyone is great. Like there's not many people that you come away from a season where you're like, oh, they're a dickhead. I don't like them. Like pretty much, like everyone is really lovely, and that's one of the best things like that's ever come away from me for Survivor is just like the relationships that come from it. Like I think I counted the other day. I've got like 13 or 14 survivors coming to the wedding, and it's going to be the best thing ever. Like I really love these people. Yes, I know. It's going to be like a little mini reunion merger of 2 seasons. It's going to be pretty exciting. But yeah, so and I think they're all coming over. They're getting a big house together, and it's just going to be really fun, So that's the best thing to come of the game is the relationships, and I don't think I can't say I never leave the season being like I hate that mess. I'm like no, everyone's great.
Well, I'm so happy that you're still joyful even after the exit last night. You seem like you're in a wonderful mood, and for good reason, because your special day is coming up here in a little bit. How long until your special day here?
So I get married on the 17th of March. So that's the 16th in the US.
Oh, how exciting. That's incredible. So there's going to be a little caveat here with this question that we always end our podcast with. And that is, we all want to know, will we get to see Flick out there again to play Survivor? And the second part of that, is this actually going to be a Survivor wedding? Is your man ever going to go out and play Survivor? Is this something we can get him to do?
Oh my God. Wouldn't that be so funny? Maybe like blood versus water if Australians might ever do that again. That could be fun. Yeah. Now lock it in. Yeah, look, okay, you never say never. For me though, like my main, like I'm a big wave surfer. That's my main priority. So it just would have to be if the stars align and if the schedules were working out, we could do it.
Okay, we'll pencil you in as a maybe. But
excellent.
Abraham, anything else to say before we leave Flick or let her
We're
go?
We're gonna come out to Australia. We're gonna catch some waves. Me and Randy, we're gonna do a podcast out there. You got to help us out now.
Yes, come if you come to Western Australia, I'll teach you to surf. There we go.
Yes, please do.
That's the deal.
Well, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on. And again, congratulations on the marriage and enjoy your special day.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Have a wonderful day,
It's been lovely. See ya.